So you're a miniature maker and looking into getting a 3D printer. Then you've most definitely heard of Bambu and especially the X1 Carbon. It's been touted as the only printer you'll ever need, or the best printer on the market. Is it really as good as the claims? Is it overhyped? Let's dig into this today. I'll go through the pros and cons of this printer and share my thoughts on whether or not it's worth getting. Of course, I'll design and print some miniatures along the way so you can get a visual and judge for yourself if this is the right machine for you. I'll be making miniatures for this adorable dollhouse playroom, so keep watching to get my thoughts on this machine and learn how to model a few miniatures along the way. Let's unbox this printer and see what it's capable of. Right out of the box, you can tell this is a well-built machine. It's heavy and feels very solid. The dark gray exterior is sleek and modern, and it doesn't look out of place in a home office. It's about the size of a small mini fridge, so it doesn't take up a ton of desk space. The assembly is pretty simple after I figured out that the filament feeder is housed inside of the printer for shipping. This is the X1C combo, which means that it comes with this AMS filament feeder, but they also sell this printer without this optional add-on. I'll tell you a lot more about this AMS system later in this video so you can tell if it's right for you. I'm used to assembling printers from many various parts, so this machine was actually extremely easy to assemble in comparison. There really isn't that much to do besides connecting a few cables and peeling off this plastic, which is extremely satisfying. The printer came with a few rows of test filaments, so I used those to make some test prints. The first model I tested is the simple picture ledge. It's a one-piece model and it's in one color, which makes it an extremely easy print. And it's ready for the dollhouse without any extra work. I found this great model online on Maker World for a card holder. It's in the shape of a Game Boy and requires no special tools to assemble. In no time, I had a great print that snaps together with ease and would fit a bunch of Pokemon cards. This print turned out so great that I decided to print another one. So right off the bat, there are already a few things I love about this machine. Number one is that now I can spend most of my time designing and not worrying about tinkering around to make a machine perform properly. That's been my experience with most printers in the past. They tend to not perform consistently, efficiently, or at all. The X1C though, it just works. It works well, effectively, and seamlessly. It feels like an extremely reliable machine for those who aren't tech inclined and just want it to work and work well. This machine really feels like it's making 3D printing accessible to people who don't have a ton of tech know-how and maybe found 3D printing a bit intimidating before. Now let's use one of my models. I designed this adorable toy school bus to see how it performed on a smaller scale. This is a pretty basic model that combines several rectangular prisms. Rectangular prisms cut out the interior of the bus and all the windows. The base is another rectangular prism and the wheels are just cylinders. A few buttons on the top and an octagon for the stop sign to finish it up. I'll go through the multicolor printing option in just a bit. For this model, I selected silver and black for the base and this beautiful sunflower yellow for the body. Then a bit of red for the buttons on top. Add some supports for the window areas and click print. This print came out so well that you can barely see any layer lines on the smooth finish. It's such an adorable little toy for the playroom. Another feature I like about this machine is that it's fast. Now, that's generally not a huge factor when you print miniatures because they're tiny and they don't take much time. However, if you're printing a lot of pieces to sell or to prototype your designs, every minute counts. I have another printer that specializes in speed and is about as fast as this one. But what makes this printer great is that I don't have to trade quality for speed. Usually, faster printing means worse quality prints. That's simply not the case with the X1C. It's fast, but it's also extremely accurate and still creates beautiful prints that have intricate details. It even prints my teddy bear model that I used to only be able to print in resin. You can see all the tiny details from the wrinkles on his hoodie to the little heart on his paw. And here is another teddy bear that I modeled and printed. The little nose and the smile are very crisp. As another example, I created a model of a popular vintage toy phone. I made this to see how well the printer could handle extremely small details like the rotary part of this phone. Because as you know, I love it when my miniatures are able to move and function the way their real-life counterpart does. I printed the base in blue and white, and I printed the phone separately in red. This is the rotary part and this is the base. To attach the circle rotary part to the base, I snip off a piece of a head pin to use as a shaft for it to rotate around. The phone clips into place perfectly and doesn't fall off because I ensured that the tolerance was very small. For the base, I used a sticker for the rainbow colors. Just add a tiny drop of glue into the base, put the circle on, and add in the pin. Then I painted on the other details. To finish this, I added a little piece of thread to connect the phone and the base. How absolutely adorable is this little toy phone for the playroom? You've seen me design and print this dollhouse before. It's simple and easy to print. Here I'm adding brick detail to the front of that house. The brick detail is so tiny and I really wanted to see how well the printer would handle it. I printed this in black and white for a modern take on a classic design. How well it printed the tiny brick details is absolutely stunning. Here is another version of the print in just white filament so you can see all the tiny details. Now it's time to dig a bit more into multicolor printing. One of my favorite features about this machine is the ability to use the AMS system with this printer. AMS stands for Automated Material System. It's basically a filament feeder for the printer. It can detect the filament that you're using and allows you to use multiple colors and types of filaments in one print. It'll tell you the color and type of filament that you just loaded, and it'll also adjust the settings to be perfect for that filament. Another reason I love the AMS is that I can have 4 filaments ready to go at all times. Even if I'm just printing with one color, there's no need to switch out filaments when I change projects. The AMS is also a great area to store your filaments because you can control the humidity and temperature inside this little area. Here, I'm designing a toy barn. The foundation of this design is a rectangle and a stretched out cylinder. Then, another flattened rectangle for the base. A cube cuts out the large center door. The arch windows are made by combining a cube and a cylinder. I use this to cut out the openings for the windows. I need 2 halves of this barn, so I make a copy. Remove the openings and stretch out the arch windows into arch doors. I won't go through all the smaller details as those can be customized based on your style. Changing the color on different parts of a design is also incredibly easy. You just select the color and click where you want it applied. The intricate details on this barn would make it difficult to paint all those areas. However, because it's already being printed in the color it's supposed to be, you can completely skip the painting step. I just select the color that I want, and that's the one that gets pulled into the machine for use. Another feature I really like about the X1C is that it's enclosed. Enclosed machines have many benefits outside of just keeping dust off your printer and your filaments. It provides a consistent heat and humidity controlled environment that's really great for specialty filaments like TPU and ABS. I got this row of white flexible TPU filament and I decided to test print it with my beach tote model. I've always liked printing this model in regular PLA filament, but after seeing it in TPU, I love it even more. Because TPU is flexible, this little print bends without breaking. Now it's so much more accurate to its real-life counterparts. So over the holidays, I cleaned out my studio and needed to reorganize. I was looking into getting a label maker, but then I realized I could just print my own labels. These were super easy to make in Tinkercad and took minutes. I printed the base in black and the text in white to give it that look of an embossed label. These are so customizable and printed so much faster than I would have been able to make with a label maker. Now let's talk about a few things that would make me hesitate before getting this machine. Number 1 is the price. At $1,200, it is not a cheap machine. For most hobbyists, this is more than they'd be willing to spend on one machine. However, I wouldn't say that it's overpriced. For the quality of the build and the quality of the prints that you get, I feel like it's well worth it. But if you're not 3D printing on a regular basis, there are definitely less expensive options. If you like this machine but the price tag is considerably higher than you'd like to spend, consider the P1S. It's half the price but has many of the same features. Bambu also has the A1 and the A1 Mini, which is a lot more affordable, and those are machines that many of my miniature maker friends adore. I just ordered the A1, but I haven't had a chance to set it up yet. I'm excited to show you a comparison once I get it up and running. Another thing I don't love is that this machine shakes, and it shakes a lot. This part surprised me when I first started using the machine. As with any printer that prints at a high speed, some amount of shaking is unavoidable. Now that I've had this printer for over a month, I've gotten used to the movement. However, this is not a machine that you would keep next to your bedroom and print at night. Another thing to know about the X1C is that it creates quite a bit of what's known as 3D printing poop. It's what you get when this machine cleans out the nozzle by pushing new filament through. This happens when you change filament or start a new print. It's actually a wonderful feature to ensure your nozzle is clean and that the filament you're printing with is fresh. However, this may bother you if you're trying to conserve filament. Just know that this feature is not exclusive to Bambu printers, as many new printers do this. There are ways to reduce the poop though. Let me show you. Here's a super easy model which is just made of a few rectangles with rounded corners and 2 cylinders. It's an Etch-a-Sketch, and it's even easier to print than it was to model. I chose to print this in 2 colors and then add on the silver part separately, but you could print it with all 3 colors at once. However, that would cause way more poop and take a lot longer to print. That's because changing filament colors means your machine will need to pause to poop every time it prints a new color. So if you're printing several colors on each layer and your model has hundreds of layers, you're in for a very long print and a bucket of poop. I try to optimize the way I print my models to reduce the amount of time it takes and to reduce the amount of poop that the printer generates. One feature I haven't seen before from other brands is reusable spools. Instead of throwing out the spool once you finished up a row, you can actually reuse the plastic spool that the filament was wrapped on. Here I'm showing you how to refill a used up row. This is a really easy process. Some of the most impactful additions to a dollhouse don't have to be complex. For example, this ceiling light is just a hollow cylinder printed in yellow and this flat circle printed in white. Add a little push light inside and it adds a modern yet playful touch to the room. Overall, I would highly recommend the X1C as an all-in-one filament printer that's easy and intuitive for beginners, but also a reliable workhorse for those who have been printing for years. This printer is great for printing in one color or multicolor, small or large, one item or several items. It's extremely versatile, which suits a broad range of people. I've been here since the early days where you had to build your own 3D printer from a box of parts. Auto leveling was not a thing and glass beds reigned supreme. This machine is a sign that the 3D market is changing and getting more in tune with what consumers want. If you're serious about 3D printing, this is absolutely the machine I'd recommend. If it's within the budget, it's absolutely worth the price tag as it's reliable and maintenance is minimal. I hope you found this video helpful and I'll see you next time. Bye!